As you get older, one of the greatest lessons in life becomes crystal clear. Sometimes it's smarter to play dumb, not because you don't know better, but because it's the smartest strategy in the room. Stay with me until the end, because the 12th situation might just save you from heartbreak or even financial disaster. 1. When someone tries to borrow money, "Oh, I'm so sorry, but my accountant handles all of that nowadays." Let's face it, as you get older, people sometimes mistake your generosity for gullibility. It could be a neighbor, an old friend, or even a family member asking for just a small loan. At first glance, you might feel obligated. After all, helping others feels like the right thing to do. But here's the trap. These situations rarely stop at just one favor. Now, I'm not saying you should never help someone in need, but what I am saying is that you must tread carefully when someone approaches you with their hand out. That's the perfect time to play a little clueless. "Oh dear, I really couldn't tell you if I even have that much to spare. My accounts are so complex these days. I leave it all to my accountant or my kids." Why is this a great tactic? Because it shifts the responsibility away from you and onto this mythical accountant, real or imagined. People are far less likely to push you if they think your finances are out of your hands. Another thing to keep in mind, many people asking for money aren't prepared for rejection. Playing dumb softens the blow and reduces the awkwardness. You can even sprinkle in a little humor. "Between you and me, I'm lucky I can still balance my checkbook, let alone figure out loans." What you've done here is create a polite escape route while sending a clear signal that you're not an easy mark. 2. During family arguments that don't involve you. "Goodness, I can't keep up with who said what. You kids work it out." Family gatherings, a wonderful mix of love, laughter, and occasionally drama. Whether it's about who didn't bring the right casserole to Thanksgiving or a deep-seated grudge from years back, family arguments have a way of spiraling out of control. Here's the thing. The moment you step in, you've just taken a side. And in family politics, taking a side can cost you dearly. Playing dumb here isn't just smart, it's essential. Say your nephew accuses your niece of something petty, and they both look to you to weigh in. The smart move? Lean back in your chair, smile gently, and say something like, "You know, I'm too old to keep track of these things. You're both far too clever for me. I trust you'll sort this out without any help from me." By acting like the lovable elder who's out of their depth, you maintain your neutrality. Plus, it's hard to stay mad at someone who refuses to take sides because they can't keep up. Still feeling pressure to intervene? Redirect with kindness. "Oh, now I remember when you two were little and fought over toys. Look at you now, still so passionate about things. Why don't you both take a breath and tell me one nice thing about the other?" 9 times out of 10, your diversion will calm the storm, or at the very least, it'll remind everyone why you're the family favorite. 3. When salespeople get pushy. "Oh dear, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Let me check with my children first." We've all been there. You're shopping for something simple, and out of nowhere, a pushy salesperson starts talking in circles about upgrades, extras, or warranties you don't need. Their job is to make you feel like you have to buy something. But let me tell you, one of your greatest weapons against this is the classic act of playing dumb. Here's how it plays out. Imagine you're in an electronics store looking at a new TV, and the salesperson starts throwing terms at you like HDMI, refresh rates, or OLED technology. Now, you might understand every word they're saying, or you might not, but either way, they're hoping to overwhelm you so you give in. Instead, tilt your head slightly, squint at the screen and say, "Oh, I'm afraid you've lost me. This is far too complicated for me to decide on my own. I'll have to check with my son or daughter." Notice how you flip the script. By pretending to be out of your depth, you've signaled that you're not an easy sell. Plus, when you bring up the idea of running it past a younger family member, You create an invisible wall between you and the transaction. If the salesperson tries to corner you, keep your tone friendly but firm. "Oh goodness, you're such an expert, aren't you? I wish I knew as much as you do, but I think I'll just wait and talk this over at home." 9 times out of 10, they'll back off. Why? Because people don't want to waste time convincing someone who appears indecisive. Remember, playing dumb isn't about being helpless. It's about staying in control of the situation without conflict. 4. At the doctor's office, when you need a second opinion, doctors are trusted professionals, but even they can misjudge a situation, miscommunicate, or recommend a course of action that doesn't entirely sit well with you. In these cases, playing the role of a forgetful or uncertain patient is an excellent way to politely stall and ensure you make the best decisions for your health. Imagine you've just been given a treatment plan or a diagnosis that feels rushed or overly complex. Instead of expressing outright skepticism, take a moment to process the information. Then, softly hint that you might need to confirm details with another physician. This strategy isn't confrontational. It shows you respect their expertise while acknowledging your need for reassurance. Feigning forgetfulness is an especially effective tool here. If the doctor shares a complex explanation filled with medical jargon, nod thoughtfully, but suggest that the information might be too much for you to grasp all at once. This buys you time and makes it easier to consult a second opinion, armed with a clearer understanding of what's been proposed. Remember, second opinions exist for a reason. They can validate a diagnosis, offer alternative treatments, or in some cases prevent serious medical oversights. Playing unsure in these situations isn't about doubting your doctor's ability. It's about taking a practical step toward protecting your health and ensuring you have the full picture before proceeding. 5. When neighbors ask too many questions. We've all had interactions with neighbors who seem a little too interested in our personal lives. Whether they're prying into your daily activities, fishing for details about your financial situation, or speculating about your visitors, it can feel intrusive and awkward. Answering these questions directly often encourages further inquiries, creating a cycle that's hard to break. Instead, you can play the vague and forgetful card to diffuse the situation without causing offense. For instance, if a neighbor starts questioning recent renovations to your home or comments on how many visitors you've had, you can respond in a way that leaves them without useful information. "Oh, I hadn't really thought about it. My kids or the contractors handled most of it. I just went along with whatever they suggested." Present yourself as someone who doesn't dwell on the finer details, someone who lets life happen without overthinking every choice. This creates a layer of mystery and ensures your private matters stay private. To keep things friendly, shift the focus back onto them. Compliment something they've recently done or inquire about a project you know they're working on. "By the way, I noticed you've been sprucing up your garden. It looks fantastic. What's your secret?" Most people are more than happy to talk about their own achievements, and before long, they'll forget they were ever trying to pry into your life. By setting this tone in interactions, you create boundaries while still maintaining a neighborly relationship. It's not about being secretive. It's about preserving your autonomy and controlling your narrative in a way that feels safe and comfortable for you. 6. When dealing with scammers. Scammers have become increasingly sophisticated, and their methods often target older adults under the assumption that we might not be as tech-savvy or informed. This can feel intimidating, but the reality is that they rely on fear and urgency to catch their victims off guard. Playing dumb is one of the most effective ways to throw them off their game. Let's say you get a call from someone pretending to be from your bank, claiming there's been suspicious activity on your account. They might try to sound official, using technical terms and asking for sensitive information. This is your cue to act completely out of your depth. Expressing confusion or making it seem like you don't understand what they're asking immediately disrupts their script. Scammers depend on a specific sequence of events. Once you step outside their flow, they lose confidence in their ability to manipulate you. In more technical scams, like phishing emails or messages claiming your computer has been hacked, you can also pretend to be totally uninformed about technology. "Oh dear, I don't know the first thing about this. I'll need to have my son/daughter take a look at it for me." The moment you suggest you'll need a family member or someone else to check things for you, they often give up. Why? Because their tactics rely on isolating their victim and pressuring them into making decisions quickly. Introducing another person into the scenario adds a layer of accountability, which scammers avoid at all costs. Remember, the goal isn't just to escape the scam, it's to do so without engaging further. By playing uninformed or uninterested, you make yourself less appealing as a target, leaving them to move on while you stay secure and unscathed. 7. When someone asks about your financial situation, money can be a touchy subject, especially as you age. People, sometimes well-meaning, other times not, might feel entitled to ask questions about your finances. These could range from casual inquiries about how you're funding your retirement to more invasive questions about your savings, spending habits, or investments. Sharing too much can invite unwanted advice, judgment, or even attempts to take advantage of your resources. This is where playing unassuming can save you from uncomfortable situations. If someone asks, "How much are you getting from your pension?" or "Are you managing okay with inflation these days?" you can respond in a way that deflects the question without raising suspicion. Act as though you're not entirely sure of the details, mentioning that you leave all that stuff to someone else, like your spouse, a financial advisor, or even an accountant. The key here is to sound uninterested or forgetful without being defensive, signaling to the asker that your finances aren't a topic up for discussion. Most importantly, don't feel obligated to justify your choices or explain anything further. Let the subject fade into the background and steer the conversation toward something neutral, like shared hobbies or mutual acquaintances. Setting firm, silent boundaries about financial matters can protect both your privacy and your peace of mind. 8. When contractors try to upsell you, hiring someone to work on your home, whether it's plumbing, painting, or roofing, can sometimes turn into a delicate negotiation. Contractors may suggest upgrades or additional services, convincing you that these extras are essential to the job. While some recommendations might be legitimate, others could simply be attempts to pad the bill. In these situations, playing unsure and uninformed is a fantastic way to take control without causing conflict. When a contractor presents you with an upgrade you weren't expecting, don't commit right away. Instead, nod thoughtfully. Act as though the details are hard to follow, and let them know you'll need to think it over or consult someone else. This could be a family member, a friend, or even another contractor. The important part is to avoid making an immediate decision. Playing undecided forces them to realize you won't be rushed into saying yes. Additionally, emphasizing that you're waiting on someone else's opinion often shifts the dynamic in your favor. Contractors understand that second opinions could expose unnecessary charges or exaggerated claims, making them less likely to push too hard. Give yourself time to reflect, compare options, or negotiate better terms. And remember, you don't owe anyone an explanation for prioritizing your budget. 9. During community meetings or volunteer events. As you grow older, you might find yourself involved in more community gatherings or local events. These can be wonderful opportunities to connect with others, but they can also bring moments when someone tries to place extra responsibilities on you. Whether it's asking you to chair a committee, take on a time-consuming project, or manage event planning, well-meaning neighbors or group leaders might assume you have extra time simply because you're retired or semi-retired. Instead of agreeing outright or risking the awkwardness of directly refusing, You can play a little unaware. When asked to take on a responsibility you're not comfortable with, act as though you aren't entirely sure what it entails. Ask plenty of questions, pretend to lose track of the finer details, or highlight how new you are to the process. The idea is to make it seem like the task might be better suited to someone more familiar with the inner workings. For example, if someone suggests you organize a fundraiser, show genuine appreciation for the opportunity but mention that you'd need significant guidance because you're unfamiliar with the procedures. This often leads to others volunteering themselves or redirecting the task to someone else. The point is to stay friendly and engaged without taking on obligations you don't want. By doing this, you maintain your involvement in the community while keeping your personal time and energy under control. Participation is important, but so is setting boundaries that protect your well-being. 10. When family members pressure you for money. One of the most sensitive situations seniors often encounter is being approached by family members who need or want financial help. These requests can come from adult children, grandchildren, or even extended relatives, often accompanied by emotional stories or urgent pleas. 10. When family members pressure you for money. While helping family is a noble gesture, it's important to protect your own financial stability, especially in retirement. In moments like these, playing financially clueless can be a helpful strategy to sidestep uncomfortable confrontations. If a relative asks for a loan or financial support, you can respond in a way that signals you're not in a position to assist without outright refusal. Instead of explaining your budget or investments, simply act as though you don't have a clear understanding of your finances. Mention how everything is handled by someone else, or say you need to check things first. This approach gives you time to think without feeling pressured into saying yes. Sometimes family members will back off entirely when they sense you're not easily swayed by emotional tactics. Protecting your financial independence isn't selfish. It ensures you'll remain secure and able to support yourself in the long term, which is ultimately better for everyone. 11. When salespeople try to confuse you, aggressive salespeople, whether they're selling warranties, subscriptions, or flashy technology, often use confusing jargon and high-pressure tactics to wear you down. Their strategy is simple: overwhelm you with information and urgency until you make a purchase, just to end the conversation. Playing dumb can effectively neutralize their efforts. Instead of engaging with their pitch or showing interest in the product, act completely lost. Pretend you don't understand the terms they're throwing at you or that the specifics are way over your head. For example, if they're explaining a complicated payment plan, ask them to slow down and clarify, then casually lose track of their explanations. The more effort they expend trying to get you on board, the less likely they'll want to continue pursuing you as a customer. Eventually, many salespeople will move on to someone they perceive as a simpler target. By feigning confusion and maintaining a slow, methodical pace, you regain control of the situation and avoid making decisions you'll later regret. 12. When you're negotiating a big purchase, buying a car, a piece of furniture, or even major appliances often involves negotiation. As a senior, you may be seen as an easy target for upselling. Salespeople might assume you're less likely to haggle or research alternatives, and use this to their advantage by quoting higher prices or offering expensive add-ons. The key to getting the best deal is playing uncertain and uninformed. When they present you with a price or an upgrade option, act as though it's far too complex for you to decide immediately. Make it clear you'll need to check with a relative, sleep on it, or think it over and do some research. By appearing hesitant, you subtly signal that you're not an impulsive buyer, which often prompts the salesperson to offer discounts or more favorable terms to close the deal. Additionally, asking a lot of basic questions, especially about pricing and warranty terms, can further throw off their rhythm. Most sales strategies depend on creating a seamless, stress-free transaction. If you introduce uncertainty or delays into the process, You gain leverage to negotiate for a better deal or walk away entirely if something doesn't feel right. If you found these tips helpful, I have more wisdom to share in my free newsletter, Wise Advice. Sign up today for even more strategies to make life simpler, smarter, and a whole lot more fun. Don't forget to like this video, comment below with your favorite play dumb moment, and subscribe for more.